For the front end assembly, we have two packs again, like we did with the back end assembly. This is the front end door pack that you'll receive. First piece, again, is the base sill, which you should be familiar with now. Next, we have the door slide assembly, which comes with the centre glazing bar all mounted to it. Then we have the two door side frames, which you'll note is flush on one side. We have the side braces, similar to those used in the back, with the exception that we don't have a centre hole on the front. This denotes the difference between the two. They are the same length, but remember, there's no hole on the front end. To note as well, we've removed one of the end covers from the slide assembly so that you could see the inside of the profile. Next to that, we have the two side braces. These go up in the centre position of the door and stop the frames from moving around during use. Then finally, we have the centre glazing bar. This is a very small glazing bar and it goes above the door into the apex of the roof. And the two side supports. These again are handed. There is a left and a right hand unit. You can denote by the hole positions. And they will go through the assembly, we'll show you later, but they actually position themselves on the back here to support the outside surface of the slide. Next to that, we then move on to the second pack, which is the same as what we used with the back assembly. We have the two corner legs, the angle at one end and 90 degrees at the other, and the two roof corner sections. And to note the T again, which is where you put them together in the ridge at the top. Okay, we've started the same as we did with the back end section. We've preliminarily put the bolts in, the T-bolts into the positions where they're going to be used to assist us with the main assembly. Now on the front end, please note, we use the same frame section that we use for the back end, which means we've got additional holes up the frame which aren't used. So the first T-bolt will be positioned in the outside hole. The next T-bolt will be positioned in the third hole in from the end. And this is the same on both ends of the frame. The remaining holes are not used. As with the back assembly, we've laid it out approximately in position on the floor. Note at this time the absence of the cross of the door slide and other components. We've got the main corner pieces, we've got the base, and we've got the two side rails, or the two side door frames for assembly. One other thing to be noted is that the bracket, the centre bracket for the ridge, note is the one with the additional hole in the middle at the bottom. This is the top corner bracket again. You'll note it's the same as when we assembled the back end. We've got the bracket in position. We've also remembered to put on your two bolts into the vertical slot and put a nut on each one, the same as we have here. The side brace will mount in the same way it did in the back onto the lower bolt on the bracket with the inside facing out. Additionally, you need to add one more T-bolt into the slot of the leg going down. This we would move down a position approximately halfway. Now coming down to the bottom of the brace, you can see that it's attached to the third hole in again along with the door side frame. These are mounted together. Now when you put the door side frame in, if you come in up to the top, we again add one additional T-bolt. This is for the door side brace I mean. Then if you come up to the top of it, you can see we've mounted it into, you've got two holes. They're spaced approximately 1.5 inches apart. You want to position that door side frame in the lower hole of the two. Then from there, we come across to the ridge bracket. Again, it's the same as when we assembled it in the rear. We add the two additional bolts into the vertical slots on the frame. Go. Next part of the assembly is to put the door slide assembly in place. What we've done here before we actually put it into the unit is we want to put two T-bolts on the ends, one at each end, and we want another additional two T-bolts to use in the centre. These will be used to position and hold the centre glazing bar above the door. Okay, to get this in, we need to lift the frame up and slide it underneath. And it positions, the bolts will go into the two holes just above the door frame. You see it's quite a tight fit. And once you put it in there, hold it in place, and we'll put a nut on. On the other side here, we need to just position that bolt over. Through and nip it down. Now those two will snap down in place. Like so. Now the next part is we're going to install the centre glazing bar above the door. To do this, you'll need to use the small bracket that comes in the kit. It's the 3-point bracket and it will fit on the centre. We approximately position the two T-bolts in the middle. We'll put a couple of nuts on there just to hold them for now. Let's see if I can get them on. How about that? Okay, next we'll take two T-bolts and we want to put one in the bottom and one in the top end of this glazing bar. And this will mount into position into that bracket at the bottom there. And the second one, just move your T-bolt just to get it approximately in line. Will mount into that bottom hole in the top ridge bracket. Now at this point it may not be square, and it's not going to be. The best way to square this is, forget about it for now. When we come to do the glazing, you'll put the glazing in and the glazing will square this up. So you can just undo it then and adjust it into position. But for the time being, I'm just going to snug the bolts up to hold it together. And that completes this part of the operation. Put this one up out of the way is we're going to install the door side brace. Do this, it goes underneath the main side brace, over that T-bolt, if you remember the one we put in the slot, and I've set it approximately midway up the leg. Bolt in the door frame gets moved down and it's positioned over the top. We complete this on both sides. Again, we just nip the bolts down. They will be adjusted at a later time. We'll complete this on this side and the other side, then we're ready to move on to the main frame assembly.